It's Tuesday, February 21st. This is a pre-opening SPY report now, about an hour to go before the open. This is a shortened trading week, and we have about 6 days to go in the trading month of February. So we'll see what happens. We are kind of skewing to the downside here on our pre-market range between the blue lines. You can see here that we're down kind of near the lows of the range, the lows of Friday. And in the past, we have had some gap down days. Let's look at them here. These 2 days, gaps down, but then it gets bought immediately. Here it gets gaps down, bought immediately. This gap down, even the other, on Friday, we went down for a second, but we kind of held in here, and by the end of the day, we went up. So it's always possible, if you zoom out the chart, that we're just getting kind of little probes down, kind of a falling wedge, and maybe we start up. And the key there is going to be, are we really failing these two inside bars to the downside right out of the gates, and then eventually we move higher. In order for that to really happen, though, you need some strong green to really start out above the pre-market highs. That'll be above the halfway point of this bar. You would have ideally wanted it to hold the midpoint of that little, tail down there, which we're not. It looks like we're not doing. It looks like we're kind of trying to open up below there. So in this case, I'm actually skewed a little, even though I don't love to, when I see gaps down, it's hard to know if you're going to get continued momentum right out of the gates. I'm kind of leaning towards the fact we might be heading lower towards some of these targets. First of all, you do have the potential to really, drop severely. You've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, higher lows on the way up, and this was the first. Even though it's an inside bar, compounded inside bar of this big green bar, it's still a lower low that failed a couple of times up here. Like this yellow line now is the new, line we really have to get above to get the uptrend going again. But forgetting that, if we start lower again, which it looks like we're going to get a lower low, we can definitely target this area and get a whole pivot machine gun towards these other lows if the market really wants to continue weak. So, it's certainly possible that if we don't get that buying right out of the gates, this could start off a domino effect of some much bigger downside. So I'm aware of that. Also on the daily chart, I see, this after a big move up that we had here, this first move down after, taking out some key highs up in this area, kind of filled in a fair value gap, and then it kind of rallied. Then we came down, at the end of last week and took out some liquidity right here. So that in an uptrend is fine. It should have then bounced up. So we've had two opportunities to bounce up. We're really not doing it, and now we're starting at the low end of the range. So it is possible we're not going to get the bounce anymore, and we're going to be starting to taking out some of these lower targets along the way. So I'm going to be biased to the downside. It doesn't mean I can't immediately change my mind. I actually had a bunch of stocks that I was writing down that are bullish here, that, if we don't get any follow through to the downside right out of the gates, or if it's bought up, there's some stocks you can look at that are acting kind of strong, and I'll see how those charts look. They might be opening above the midpoint of their prior days and heading up. So the market as a whole, though, I could see it here if we're going to open up kind of around this 403, 404 area and not bounce. Then all of a sudden you're having this target here down to the psychological 400 area. And at that point, we'll really see day to day. Well, let's go on this chart. If we're going to continue lower, and then maybe we can just have, a nice, if the trend is down, then maybe you wait for a little reversal, and then there'll be a really nice, 2 up, 2 down sell signal to really get some momentum going as well. But anyway, let's just see what happens today. We're at kind of a key area. Are we going to be just kind of taking out inside bars to the downside and failing and starting up? Or is this the start of something much bigger on the downside? Can't predict it, but we'll see where price action leads us.